Welcome to video 20. This is the video that ties everything together. It's interesting, although this is at the end of the course, we hinted at this throughout the course, and especially at the beginning, the first few videos, when I gave a little bit of insight into my own trading background, my own history, and some of the things that I experienced. And my goal was to translate my experience into a method or a structure to help you cut the learning curve, save money, and become an accomplished trader sooner. And believe it or not, I've made this a point throughout the program. Learning what to do is not that difficult. Gaining the skill to do it is where you ultimately transform from somebody who understands how to read charts or interpret the news into somebody who actually knows how to make money. So we're going to focus in this last video, which is going to be followed by some audio of how to think like a professional. I've hinted several times about, if you've ever met a professional athlete or a movie star or whoever it happens to be, I think for most of us, meeting an athlete would probably be the easier circumstance, whether you've gone to like a trade show or something along those lines. They just have a different aura about them, and we're going to cover some of the things in this particular video and audio lesson about what it takes for you to be that way. It's great to meet somebody else. It's fantastic to have an inspiration that can give you aspiration, but we want to help you have the mindset to act and think like a professional trader. And first, we're going to start out with me giving you some advice as a mentor, both the things I've seen people do successfully and things I've seen people fail miserably doing. I say things I've seen people do. I want to make it clear, most of what I'm going to get across to you is stuff that I've done myself. I've devoted a long time to becoming a professional trader. It translated into me being a mentor and ultimately writing courses just like the one that you're in now. I've had massive success. I've had massive failures as well. And if you're smart, you learn from both of them. And especially can tell you that you will only succeed when you try. And that means taking the first step. I was caught up in a vicious cycle when I first started trading, where I constantly felt like I needed to know more. But what I really needed was real-world trading experience to test out what I've learned, and then constantly make improvements based on feedback to get better, and ultimately learned how to trade bigger. When that finally clicked for me, when I understood it was really just about committing to a philosophy of what trading meant and probabilities, it really, at that point, to become successful, it was really just a question of trading as often as possible when my probability was playing itself out, and being ultra disciplined, both to hold trades and to kill or get out of trades that weren't working out. So it takes motivation. Discipline and commitment are often sometimes these esoteric big fancy words that that other people possess and whatnot. And look, the bottom line is, it really comes down to motivation. You'll be committed to something, and you'll have the discipline to follow it if it really matters to you, if you have that burning desire to succeed. And the interesting thing is, I'm sure if you've made it to this point and you're listening to everything, I'm sure you want it. I'm sure you want to see it happen for yourself. The difference with somebody who sticks with it and ultimately it becomes a part of who they are, it's because they're constantly reminding themselves of their motivation. Their motivation is not buried in the back of their mind somewhere. They're actually bringing it to the front. And I can tell you again, if you allow me to be your coach and mentor through these videos, you need to motivate yourself purposefully. It can't only be once in a while. You have to go and pull it out of a toolbox and use it as consistently as any other tool, whether it's a moving average, a chart, or whatnot. You have to go to work every day with your motivation front and center to everything that you do. Because if you don't have, again, in my mind, picture motivation as a magnet. There's going to be adversity that you're going to need a really strong why to pull you through to the other side, and to be brave enough to take the steps, the right steps to become successful. And that leads you to understanding how to improve, how to be honest about your feedback, and how to use outcomes of the results that you're getting to get that feedback. And these are the things we're about to cover now. And then we're going to get to the point where I make it very clear what you're supposed to focus on to become a winner. And there's long-term goals of I want to make money versus short-term active goals of the steps you need to be disciplined and committed to consistently to become successful. So we all want to win. Let's put it into thought process of being an athlete, or even just a weekend warrior where you're playing a softball game, or maybe it's even fantasy football or bowling. It doesn't make a difference. The goal is to win, to score the highest points, to make the most money you possibly can. But you can't get there without the steps within the game. That's why winners focus on the process when they're becoming traders, and that there's so many different areas of discipline and commitment that we focused on, from committing to a strategy, from committing to one or two entry tactics, from committing to when you do your game planning, from understanding what the structure and checklist is when there's more available in a trade. All of those are the process goals that lead to the ultimate goal of the outcome that you want to earn money. We're going to focus on that a little bit as well. But before we get to that, it's very important we start out with motivation, what it is, how to pull it out when you need it, how to make sure you maintain it. All right? So we never ever should forget every single action we take has a reason why we do it. Now, most of the reasons, unless it's at the very beginning of being excited about something, most of the reasons why are spur of the moment. I give you the best example is, I'm going to have 2 slices of pizza and a Coke versus I'm going to have a salad and grilled chicken with lemon water. Those are spur of the moment decisions that are not purposeful. No matter what that decision is, and again, we're talking about, let's say for argument's sake you want to lose weight, and at the end of a month you want to be a certain amount lighter than you are now, or you want to run an extra mile more per week, whatever it happens to be. There's certain reasons why we want that to happen, and if the reasons why are weak, our decisions will be spur of the moment as opposed to your decisions being purposeful. High achievers in any endeavor at all, and I'm not talking about, have a goal to be an Olympic athlete where you're going to win, 2 gold medals and stuff. I'm talking about your life. I'm talking about the life that you're in charge of right now. If you want to be a high achiever, if you want to be somebody who makes things happen for yourself, if you want to be somebody who refuses to take no for an answer, you must take purposeful action. You must constantly focus on the reason why you're doing something. Put that on a post-it bed, tattoo it on the inside of your palm, and look at it all the time. Write it down in permanent magic marker. What's the reason why I'm doing this? What's the reason why I'm taking this action? Every single little action you take has a reason why you do it. If it's a weak reason why, you're going to get crappy results. Remember, all the way back in one of the first videos, I had mentioned a quote by T. Harv Eker. If you've never read any of his stuff or attended one of his seminars, I highly recommend you do it. They're actually 3-day free seminars that could change your life. That's how good they are. But one of the quotes that he's very famous for is, "The roots bear the fruits." So in other words, the deeper your roots, the more fruitful your life is going to be. And to make deeper roots, you have to make better long-term decisions, which means you constantly need to focus on the reason why you're acting. All right, so when we translate it into trading, successful traders who have a long career take purposeful action. They make good decisions on purpose. They don't hope, they don't wish, they don't ask for favors from the trading gods. They are in control. They are the people who go to the market every day and fully expect to make money, not because of some magical ability to predict what's going to happen next. It's because they're in control of what they're looking at. They understand why they're looking at it, and they know the reasons why they take the actions to hold their trades. They know the reasons why they would scale up and hold a bigger one. They have all of these things down. Every single thing they do is motivated by a strong reason why, and we're going to get into some of what those reasons why. But honestly, I shouldn't even have to give you a reason why. I shouldn't even have to cover them. You know, if you're a struggling trader, there's no other way to put it. And again, I will get back to my own background. Between my own trading, the thousands of people I've managed, mentored, taught, and met in seminars across the world. I mean, I've been to Canada, Ireland. I've been all over the place, all over the country. Struggling traders have a weak focus on their motivation. Their reason why is not strong enough to make good decisions, or not linked strongly enough to a burning desire. They don't see themselves as having a need to be focused. They're just going day to day and trade by trade, and their decisions are in the moment. Now, yes, you need to make good decisions in the moment, but those decisions need to be backed by a reason. Why do I need to be disciplined in my stop loss? Why do I need to have a structured way of taking profits? Why? Why? Because I don't want to get a real job. Because I want to have more capital so the next time I can trade bigger. Those are the reasons why. You can't make a decision on holding a losing trade because right now the reason why is you don't want to admit a trade's not working. There's nothing to admit. We've covered this 5,000 ways already. It's about probabilities. It's not the results of each trade. The reason why you kill a trade that's not working is because you want to have a long career. What is your reason why? All right, so too often, traders say, I want this trade to make money. It's stronger than I want to have a long career. If you doubt that, ask yourself that question the next time you hold a trade that's not making money. Ask yourself, if you accept on a trade you're willing to lose $300 and it's $450 against you, right at that moment, you have a weak-ass long-term reason why. There's no other way to put it. If you have a strong reason why and you believe in the structure of how to make money and how to have a long career as a trader, you will get out of trades that aren't working. You won't have a weak reason other than, I want this trade to make money. I want this trade to make money. Should not even, at this point, that should not even be in your vernacular in the long-term process of a successful trading career. You want the cumulative compilation of many trades to make money. You should not want individual trades to make money with too much emotional input. It will bury you. It will bury you in one trade if you're not careful. All right? If we're focused on our reason why, holding a big losing trade would never be an issue. What is the reason why I want to be a trader? Constantly bring that to the market. Every trade, every decision, every time you're game planning. It will game plan with focus. You'll hold good trades with focus, and you'll get out of bad trades, the ones that aren't bad trades that were bad decisions, or losing trades that have proved they're not going to follow through. Your reason why is you want to have a long career. So I'm going to ask you, what is the reason why you want to be a successful trader? Put this on pause, write it down. What is the reason why you want to be a successful trader? And we're going to get into this a little bit deeper in the next slide. Make sure you put this on pause and write it down. All right, so how do you motivate yourself on purpose? We just discussed a little bit about what is your reason why. We discussed that you need a motive to action, right? So how do you do it on purpose? There's two primary types of motivation which result in proper action. Now, what's interesting there is I purposely worded proper action. You know, there is many different types of action you could take, and quite honestly, if you're getting mediocre results, you're making the wrong choices. You have the wrong motivation for making that decision, and quite often it's because you're making a decision that will be most beneficial to you in the short run, but have zero long-term positive repercussions. And again, I'll keep going back to the food metaphor. You know, I love pizza. You know, I love it, especially pepperoni pizza. And if I wanted to, I could wolf down 4 slices without blinking. And that's a short-term motivation that will have long-term negative consequences, because I also want to be healthy and I want to be in shape. I want to have a nice flat belly. I want to fit into my clothes good. If I don't remember the stronger, longer-term motivation, which is being healthy, the in-the-moment emotional decision will be the wrong action. So how do we get towards this? There's two things going on. There's away from a pain or problem that you want to be. You will have motivation to be away from something, or you will have a really strong burning desire towards something. I'll give you an example from my own life. Again, one of the things I had mentioned to you previously, I wanted to be a trader because I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Very strongly, I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I wanted to be away from working nights, working holidays, working weekends, and quite honestly, to really give you the full answer, I wanted to be away from dealing with the public. I had been burnt out at that point from owning several retail places. We're dealing with the public. It was just becoming something I didn't want to be involved in. So I had very strong away from motivation. It was pushing me towards being the type of entrepreneur, the type of entrepreneurial venture that I think trading at that point presented to me. But my main motivation at that time was getting away from what I didn't want to be at. Okay? They both work, but away from pain is always stronger. It's always immediate. And I just gave you my real world one. When you become a trader, you get to the point where you're trading. Quite honestly, and I've seen this for traders that have been in the business for 10 or 15 years. They just don't want to get a real job. They love being in control. They love making their income and being 100% their own boss. And you use that away from motivation to continue to be disciplined when you need to be, to continue to game plan on an appointed schedule where it's 7 p.m., 7 a.m. You continue to force yourself to hold trades without fear of a drawdown because you know it's the right thing to do. Okay, use all of those motivations which are towards motivation, but you really using the strongest motivation is you don't want to get a real job. You want to come and go as you please, and you want to be in control of your own hours. So away from pain is what I call the tooth whitening story. Think of tooth whitening. Tooth whitening versus a toothache. Which one is going to get you to act faster and more purposefully? Of course, a toothache. You might want tooth whitening. You might want something really bad. But if you're perceiving pain or physically have pain, you're going to take action a lot faster. And we could use one of probably the greatest example of away from motivation is probably Michael Jordan. Of course, he is now remembered as one of the greatest athletes ever, but he was constantly making up, I don't know if I'd call it pain, but it was definitely away from a self-perceived pain of not wanting to fail. He was constantly driven by, he was afraid of failing. So he was moving away from failure, which pushed him to take positive action towards what his goal was, which was fulfilling his destiny, in his opinion, of being one of the greatest, if not the greatest basketball player who ever lived. He constantly used negative motivation to spur him to take the right action, which was practice and push himself further than anybody else ever would. The name of his book is one of his books is I Cannot Accept Failing. So he was pushing himself with that negative motivation. So what's your negative motivation? What are you going to push yourself away from that's going to force you to take the good action, the proper action? What pain do you want to avoid or eliminate that's going to motivate you to be a disciplined trader all the time? One slip up and you're out the door. What image can you link to pain that will inspire you to trading with discipline? Motive, link to pain, inspire. What do you want to get away from? What do you want to avoid? What do you want to reduce? What can be achieved by learning to control this type of motivation? Put this on pause and think about it. What image can you link to a pain that will inspire you to discipline? For Michael Jordan, I just gave you what it was. He couldn't accept failing. He was pushing himself with the image of failure, never wanting for that to become a reality. There's also some of us that love to accomplish things. They love to soothe their ego and celebrate the accomplishment of a goal. All right, but remember what I just said there. Pain is always stronger, but you do need something to celebrate. What exciting goal will motivate you to be a disciplined trainer? The exciting part there is the key. All right, it can't be something like, yeah, I'd like to make money. That's not specific enough. And if we go back to Think and Grow Rich, it needs to be a specific goal that is inspiring to you, that you can accomplish in a certain amount of time. Without a certain amount of time, it's a wish. There's no other way to put it. It's a dream without a deadline. What future experience that you can put a deadline on can you link with trading discipline that will result in achieving your goal? So if you're disciplined in your trading, what goal inspires you, excites you, makes you can't wait to get up in the morning, that will motivate you to be disciplined in your game planning? Be disciplined to hold good trades when you recognize you got a great one. Be disciplined to get out of trades. I can tell you flat out on the downside, if you have a goal of earning and getting paid each month, you need the discipline to kick out your losses and not hold them. You know, you're just basically chicken scratching back and forth on a few trades here and there, and a few of the big ones that unfold and you hold, those are the ones you get paid on. All right, so what goal inspires you? All right, and as I said, for me personally, it was wanting to be an entrepreneur, or I should say continuing to want to be an entrepreneur. I didn't want to work nights, weekends, holidays, or, again, deal with the public. My exciting goal was to earn a six-figure income and live life on my terms. So really it was the income was kind of the surface thing I wanted, but really when it comes down to it, the underlying desire that was really important to me was freedom. So the goal, the money was the surface want, but really what inspired me to take the plunge was, the underlying goal was freedom, and that's really why anybody becomes an entrepreneur. All right, so I purposely used these reasons to be disciplined. I fully associated the pain of getting a real job and the pleasure of having money and the freedom in order to maintain my discipline, and I hope that you can learn from that, because that's a very, very important process that you need to fully integrate into yourself as a trader. You need to learn how to motivate yourself on purpose and maintain that motivation, and whether it's pain or a goal, completely up to you. You could use both, you could use one, but you have to use something. All right, so some advice, some visualizations for you on the path to becoming a successful trader. After millions of shares traded myself, thousands of interactions with students, seminar attendees, people I've managed with licenses like myself, where I had my Series 24, I can confidently say trading success is the direct result of an absolute belief in probabilities, and we've spent a massive amount of time in this program talking about trading edge, probabilities, institutional order flow, having a traded trend, as well as understanding the risk-reward scenario. So an absolute belief in those probabilities and the discipline to flawlessly execute that edge. Now, here's what's interesting. Confidently say, right? Confidently, absolute, blah, blah, nothing there. There's nothing there about predicting the market. Does that strike you as a little odd? I'm telling you, to be a successful trader, you don't need to necessarily predict what's going to happen next. It's a little deep if you think about it. All right? The more time you spend at the beginning of your career developing conviction in your edge, the sooner you'll be on the path to success. Now, here's what's interesting. If you don't focus from the beginning of your career on developing an edge of when you firmly believe something will probably happen over something else not happening, which is really where you get the brass tacks to put on a trade in the first place, the sooner you do that, the sooner you will get the necessary experience to learn what it takes to make money. So you first have to place trades to justify your edge. You have to learn to interact with the market. You have to learn how to not lose money on bad trades, and then ultimately learn how to hold good trades longer. When you do that within the context of probabilities and flawlessly executing in the beginning of your career, you'll shorten your learning curve. However, the more time you spend at the beginning of your career focusing on the money, the longer it will take you to understand successful trading, because now you're not focusing on whether or not you're trading well. You're focusing every single thought on whether or not the trade made money. And we know already that any trade could end up making or losing money. It's really the probability of setting up great trades over time and managing risk and leverage that will ultimately make you a successful trader. But if you're not, if you're focused on the money right away, you're not really focused on why you're being successful. So I can't stress that enough. Discipline, commitment, a belief in probabilities, and then a belief that you'll follow it, but then obviously flawlessly executing it. All right. So what's the winning mindset? What goes into all of this? Well, first, to have the winning mindset, you must be willing to be successful. I know that sounds asinine. Who wouldn't be willing to be successful? Well, let me ask you something. Do you want to lose weight? What did you eat yesterday? Did you go to the gym? Do you go to the gym at least twice a week? I don't care if you didn't go to the gym. Did you walk? Did you do anything? You got to be willing to be successful, which means that you must be willing to take the first step and then take the next step. If you're not willing to do that, it's going to be very difficult for you to ever feel like you're making progress. To be a winner, you must learn what works and then have the discipline to apply it consistently. You can't have the false illusion that you're going to be successful if you do it once in a while. It doesn't work that way. At best, you're going to be standing in the same place to maybe going backwards a little bit. That's at best. All right? Knowing what to do and doing it is not the same thing. Knowing when to game plan at 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. and actually committing to do it is not the same thing. Winners and profitable traders take planned, purposeful action. First, you decide where you want to go, learn how to get there, make a plan, take action, pay attention to the results, make whatever adjustments need to be done, take action again, get the feedback, circle the process all over again. So in order to become a winner, you must always take responsibility for the outcome of every trade. Do not ever, 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 ever say, I did something beautifully, the market had nothing to do with it. Okay? You and you alone are responsible for the outcome of every trade. You could put on the most perfectly timed setup, entry, everything on the world, and still lose money. Take responsibility for that. Take responsibility for that. Okay? You must be willing to make a commitment to think in terms of results, not feelings of progress. Again, I've mentioned this several times. You could feel close for a long time, but if you're not making any progress, you're nowhere. I can't tell you that enough. All right, to produce results, you must learn from every single trade. I went over that book that I mentioned a while back called Mindset by Carol Dweck, D-W-E-C-K. It does a great job of teaching you how to learn from every experience in your life. She calls it the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset. It has nothing to do with trading, but it has everything to do with learning how to be successful when you think about it on a trade-by-trade basis. Every single trade will help you learn. All right, thought process of a profitable trader. First, we're going to talk about something that is the thought process that I live by, and I could unequivocally tell you works. How I spend my spare time will dictate how I spend my future. There's no other way to put it. If you spend all of your spare time watching reruns on DVR, drinking with your friends, that's what you're going to get. You're essentially sowing the seeds for what you're going to end up getting at some point in the future. Now, I'm not saying you need to be obsessed and have no life. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying is you need to make a commitment to spending non-market hours. We'll keep it as simple as that. As many non-market hours as is reasonable within the structure of your life. You might have wife, kids, part-time job, whatever it happens to be. You must do that in order to be successful. Trading, although the markets in New York time are open 9:30 to 4, it is far from a 9:30 to 4 job. Okay? Next, very clear thought process of you don't need to know what's going to happen next to make money consistently. I hope I've drilled in enough. That means probabilities. Okay? You have to get out of your mind, I need to know what do you think is going to happen next. Anytime you ask or hear somebody else asking what do you think the stock's going to do, they have not done their homework. And if you ever hear those words come out of your own mouth, do not get into a trade because you haven't done your homework. All right? It's much more important to know what you are going to do next than it is to predict what's going to happen next. And part of learning or doing next is doing the preparation that goes into making a high quality decision. Remember, your trading success will ultimately come from making good decisions over time. And in order to make good decisions over time, you have to know what you're going to do next to set up a good trade. Okay, so it's more important to know what you're going to do next than it is to know what's going to happen next. And of course, this assumes that you have a plan, and we've given you one in the previous 19 videos. All right, trading to win, having control over everything that you do. And I'll give you a flat out thumbs up if you make this slide one of your most important slides that you listen to. You always want to be in control. There's not a chance you're going to make money all the time, but there is an absolute that you can be in control of everything that happens. Now, you can't be in control if something unexpected happened. Like we're talking about, like, oh my God, that they make an announcement on a interest rate cut out of the blue, or a CEO quits out of the blue. That's not what we're talking about. You can't control unexpected events. We're talking about controlling normal things. You can't control the 2% of the time when, oh my God, I had no idea that nobody. I get that question all the time. You can't control something you had no idea was going to happen. You can control your reactions. You can control your preparation. All right. So when you're trading to win, you must and will never feel the market should do something. So in other words, this has to go up. This has to go down. The VIX has to do that. The ticks have to do that. Get that out of your head. You should always be looking at the market from the perspective of it is what it is, and I'll just pay attention to what's going on and make my decisions. It is such a stress-free way of trading. You will thank me for it. Okay? And again, this actually takes it now into a trade management perspective. If you ever feel something has to happen, pull yourself away from the keyboard. Or if you're already in a trade, I'm going to give you a quote in a couple of minutes of what to say to yourself while you're in a position, which is kind of important. If you're asking the market to do you a favor, get out of the trade. You're now hoping and no longer have any control over the outcome. I can tell you that from far too many times earlier in my career I did that. I made so many deals in my mind with trading gods where I'd be like, oh, just do me, please, just come back to a flat. I won't make this dopey mistake again. If you believe that's not going to happen to you, you just simply haven't traded enough yet. I'll tell you flat out. All right, having the discipline to book a profit or loss without emotion is what separates the average trader from the one who takes home a check with consistency. Okay? Booking a profit or loss without emotion. In other words, I'm not saying you're going to be a robot. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying is you don't get too high and you don't get too low after a winning trade or a losing trade. It's nothing more than one of a lot of trades you're about to make. Okay? When you're trading to win, you move from one trade to the next effortlessly, and especially when you get to the point where you're putting on multiple positions, you could do that effortlessly as well, because it's nothing more than allowing the probabilities to play themselves out. So what does that actually mean? What is the effortless mindset when you're in a trade? Well, it's actually pretty simple. All right. Every trade should have the same mental sequence. And again, remember what I've been talking about. Can you imagine yourself a professional trader? Can you imagine yourself a millionaire? Can you imagine being a professional? Well, here's the sequence that professional traders go through. At the beginning, it's a checklist, which should probably be a checklist for you as well. But after a while, it just becomes a part of who you are. Identify what's probably going to happen, and we covered that in institutional order flow. Recognizing institutional order flow, choosing how you identify a trend, choosing if the risk is good in relation to the potential reward, putting on the trades, working the orders. So identify what's probably going to happen. All of those go into that. Have a scenario in place for if the trade moves in your favor or against you. Remember, we spent a lot of time in money management and discussing accepting the risk. You cannot be successful if you're only looking at one side of the street. So you need a scenario in place. If it moves in my favor, this is how I'm going to manage it. If it moves against me, this is how I'm going to manage it. Letter C, you place the trade, let the market unfold, and within that, you let the market unfold a little bit cut short there, but within that, learn how to adjust the position up or down. We covered that in a lot of detail as well. You do what you said you were going to do. and then you start again. It's that simple. Now, where do we muck this up? Where do we make this a lot more complicated? Well, it really boils down to letter D and letter E. We don't let the market unfold. We try and force our will on the market. And then very often we don't do exactly what we said we were going to do. We mess it up by not following our plan. We don't cut our losses. We don't hold good trades. We don't pay attention to where we are in relation to the last candle, the last 15-minute candle, the hourly candle. Are we uptrending, downtrending? Are we trading with the most recent hour? Are we trading, is today's opening price above or below the current closing price? Where are we standing from there? So letters D and E are where we mess it up. Placing the trade's easy, trust me. All right, focus thoughts and mental tricks. These actually work. No other way to put it. I put these in here not for fluff, but actually because they do work. First one I learned a long time ago from a guy named Harvey Houtkin. He's actually considered the original So's Bandit. CNBC actually calls him one of the top 5 people who've influenced Wall Street, to give you an idea of how big the guy was. Harvey Houtkin, if you want to look him up, Houtkin. If you're ever in a trade that you are not confident about, so you're already in the position, ask yourself, if I did not have this position, would I want it? The best answer always comes back immediately. So think about this. You're in a position, and it's kind of in that, what we call that phantom zone, the gray area, where it's not moving in your favor, it's not moving against you that much. If I didn't have the position, would I want it? So essentially what you do is reassess all of the reasons for putting the trade on in the first place, and you're essentially getting to the point where you're asking yourself, is the idea or the reason why I got into the position still valid? If the answer comes back, maybe it wasn't the greatest idea in the world, simply get out of it. Get your head back on straight and look for a new idea. If it comes back affirmatively, hang on. But I will tell you, this always works. This always gives you the right answer. And I'm a big comic book fan too. Your spidey sense will tingle. Spider-Man has this sense that goes off when he's in danger. If you ask yourself this question and you get that little tingle and you're like, it's not really a great idea, get out. Don't. It's actually something that kind of advanced as well. There's a rule that I had when I was managing other licensed traders, and I would essentially tell them it was very simple. If you put on a trade by mistake, so in other words, you hit the key, you build this big argument up where you want to be a buyer, and you hit the key and you're wrong, and now all of a sudden you sold the stock short. I can't even tell you how many people will sit in front of that machine and be like, well, let me try and justify why I'd want to be short. Don't. If you made a mistake, don't trade out of it, get out of it. And that kind of relates to the same thing too. So write that one down as well. Don't trade out of a mistake, get out of a mistake. All right? Being right and trading to make money is not the same thoughts process. It's completely different thoughts. Okay? Being right means you need the next trade or the trade that you're in to make money. Trading to make money simply means that you're allowing the probabilities to play themselves out. It's two completely different thoughts. All right? And I always use the one about I don't want to be fat versus I want to be healthy and fit. Sounds like the same thing, but it's not. All right? You must eliminate thoughts of right or wrong based on profit or loss of the trade. So in other words, you can't say I was right on that trade because it made money, and you can't say I was wrong on that trade if it lost money. You can make a perfectly right trade that doesn't make money. So you need to eliminate that thought process and get to the point of, was it a good idea and did I follow my rules? Now again, this is a kind of an advanced one as well, but this is one that must go in your journal either after every single trade, which is the right way to do it, or at the end of the day when you're reevaluating your trades. Would I take that trade again? So if, let's say you get out of a trade and immediately after the position you ask yourself, would I take that trade again? You're essentially training yourself to review your trade immediately right after the trade. You're essentially asking yourself whether or not the trade make money. What's the answer that comes back? If the answer comes back, yes, you're focusing on the process regardless of whether it made money or not. If the answer comes back, it didn't make money, I wouldn't take it again, that's not the right way to answer it. You're not even listening to the question. You're asking the question so you can determine whether or not you're focused on being a good trader. Being a good trader means I made a lot of good trading decisions. That's the point. So if I did not have the position, would I want it again? Would I take that trade again after the trade is over?